Hello there. Welcome to another talk. And I thought this picture was appropriate for this talk, and all the pictures I used. And this talk is about, well, it's a free-flowing talk. One of those when I'm free-flowing, that kind of talk is where I'm channeling information. It's not information I've looked up, because this path was not something I looked up. This journey began at the age of 24. I had an unexpected spiritual awakening. I sat down one day, I've said this before, and if you're new to my stuff, I sat down one day and had enough. But in the moment, I remember at the moment I had enough, then I started to go through this awakening. And it's authenticity. What I've realized this path is authenticity. That is the spiritual awakening. You become super authentic. But you hear it all the time, that people say, oh, I prayed and I really meant it, and a miracle happened. Because the power of God is authenticity. And I sat down and had enough, and it was a feeling of, right, I've had it, I'm going to change. But it was such a powerful inward thing, it manifested this awakening. Days and weeks afterwards, I was going through a lot of changes. I didn't know what was happening at the start. I didn't know what I'd done. And then weeks go by, months go by, years. I'm just under 10. I'm 33, my birthday, so just under 10 years now. And you see, I was speaking to my dad yesterday. He said, "Oh, I was awake 40 years ago." But I said, "You've never had a spiritual awakening. That's not awake. Awake is having the big spiritual awakening. For example, there's lots of people that do courses. That's not a spiritual awakening, right? Spiritual awakening is what happens is the subconscious mind is now opened up to the conscious mind, is now aligned with the conscious mind. And that's why information is pouring in. It's a different level, you can read stuff, but that's not, when you have a spiritual awakening, it's relentless knowledge all the time, coming in from subconscious. Because through the subconscious is the doorway to the Akashic records. Like this here, like a library. And it's deep in the subconscious. You got the subconscious mind that carries your problems in this life, traumas, but then deeper than that, you got different levels. But because the spiritual awakening is so massive, it's opened it all up. So it's not like it's opened the subconscious mind a little bit, like hypnotherapy can access one life or one trauma at a time. The spiritual awakening has opened it right up. So it's like opening a can of worms, and the worms being the all the multiple lives are you're perceiving them in the same moment. So Alan Watts once said that people that wake up are not in the right mind. And he means because they've went through so much. But what starts to happen is you've got these different energy parts. Third eye especially is one of my strongest. The third eye is very powerful for me. But that's why people go mad if they take something like acid. It's not because of the drug, it's because some people have very spiritual experiences on acid, but the reason people go mad sometimes is because they're not ready to have that third eye awakening. That's what acid and drugs like that do. They'll open the third eye up. And this is why I once saw a Buddhist guy saying that. He said that people that are trying to awaken their chakras too early are ignorant. He said that the proper path, he was meaning a path like mine, where you go, God is leading you the way, right? I saw someone on Instagram earlier, and it said that be careful who you mess with, because you don't know who's looking after them in the spirit world. Well, if you got to think about me, because some people believe that people that have spiritual awakenings are from different planets. and that they're protected by very powerful beings. You know that when you go in your heart center, you're accessing that realm that which you came from. You know, so, you know, but I'll be honest. People that have messed with me in the past, if someone really does me wrong, I will automatically, I don't mean to do it, but I'll think about it really, and my feelings will be really deep, and I know that I'm projecting an energy onto them. I can't help it, it's automatic. And then what has happened, I've noticed people in my past, this has happened to them, and their lives have just went down, down, down and down. Their physical health will get worse, their luck will get bad, situations will get bad, right? And this is, I believe this is the spiritual awakening cover. I think that this ability, I only started to notice it after the awakening. So I can't say that I had it before. Even though my mum is of gypsy people, you know, none of them have had a spiritual awakening. I'm the only one in the family that has actually had a big spiritual awakening. And I say to my parents a lot, I say, why do you think I've had it? Because obviously God saw that these people needed some help. And so I was sent, because even when I was born into the family, I was nothing like my family. I didn't see eye to eye with my parents, right? I just didn't fit in, right? And I think that they call it star seeds. I think that I believe that that's what I am. Because this awakening, when it happened, it was so natural, the awakening, that it does feel like that, and it's still an alien thing, right? And people pay so much money to try and get a spiritual awakening. They travel all around the globe to try and get it. But in fact, you know, the truth is that we are actually all star seeds. But what happens is many souls have lost their way, and so that they recycle back on Earth. And the demonic forces at the top of this planet, the 1%, are keeping you here by brainwashing you, and so that when you die, you have to be sent back. You can't go to heaven unless you have to ascend to at least the 5th dimension to have a chance of leaving Earth and going to somewhere better. But that better place is everything's energy, and that's what the Akashic Records is. It's just an energy realm. And in the spiritual awakening, what's happening is how you awaken right now is you go within the heart space. In there you start to feel, and as you go within there, you're gradually tuning into the core of all life. And my dad says to me yesterday, when you die, you enter the core of all life. Yes, but you don't have to wait to die to do that. The spiritual awakening is that experience. It takes you right to the core of what you are. That's why you hear me now, I talk about nothingness. Before my spiritual awakening, I never spoke about such things. Right? But when the spiritual awakening happened, I started to think of nothing. I started to perceive this nothing. Right? Because the nothing is the core of everything. And that's what the spiritual awakening does to you. It takes you right to the core of what you are. And in this core is the library of and that's the Akashic Records. Now the Akashic Records is merely an energy realm, a state of consciousness. And in the spiritual awakening, you're shifting to that state of consciousness. And you could be staring into a glass bottle and perceive something that is from some other timeline. What you're tapping into is part of the Akashic Records. Unconsciously, people tap into the Akashic Records. They might create something. They might do something. But it's a subconscious thing from the Akashic Records that's doing it. And through this spiritual awakening, I used to have depression. Last time I was depressed, I was 28 years of age. I am 33 on my birthday, so nearly 5 years. I used to suffer from crazy anxiety, crazy depression. I used to be very suicidal. I haven't suffered from anything like that for just about 5 years. Even in stressful moments, the reason I'm able to deal with it so better now, I've got the stress management thing, is because the spiritual awakening turns you to this transcendental state where you're aware that what you're going through is a reflection. You've manifested that through you, and so in this you're learning from things instead of being against things. And that's why when you spiritually awaken, you're looking at everything like it's a mirror, like it's your reflection. And that's what it is. Everything's the same oneness. Everything comes from nothingness. Nothingness is all of infinity. You can only have one infinity. If you got one all of infinity, then everything is that. So everything's you. And so what happens is, if you're ever upset or you're doing a lot of healing, you're looking within yourself, and you're basically saying to yourself, okay, this is a problem within me, and you start meditating upon it. When we look at the external world and other people as the problem, then we don't heal, right? Even if you're going through a lot of healing and there's tears, if you're going within yourself, and I've done this, you start to realize that it's within you that is manifesting these tears. It's something within you, and then you start to open up your heart to it. You start to expand yourself to it, to all the emotions you're feeling. And what you're allowing your subconscious emotions within you to come out and heal itself. That's what you're able to do. Now this things I'm talking about, this path, I am the only one to my knowledge that has went through this awakening. Now I take supplements and vitamins every day, and I'm on this health road. And the reason that is because when you have a spiritual awakening, you're interacting. I call it the heaven self. The heaven self. Heaven exists. People that have had near-death experiences have said that heaven is real, and that you have to go through a thing called life review in the spirit world to get there. And in heaven is a version of yourself. Now in the spiritual awakening, you're interacting with that version of you, and that's what the subconsciousness, when you awaken, is accessing. Because you got a subconscious, but I said different levels, and you go deep enough, you access that. Now hypnotherapists will say can access one trauma or one past life in one session, but but in the spiritual awakening, you're accessing multiple realities in the same moment. The same thing that near-death experiencers say that they experience as well. So this is why the spiritual awakening is so important. So when you spiritually awaken, you basically become this hypnosis, this meditative state, because you've went deeper than anything can take you. You've went so deep that you're now fully aware and accessing the Akashic records. And the only people that I've seen talk about accessing the Akashic records are those that have went through spiritual awakenings and know the pathway. You can't do a course on this stuff, because to access the Akashic records properly, you've got to have that spiritual awakening, right? That's the key to unlocking it, to getting into that. And to spiritually awaken, you must go within the heart space. You must be present, right? It's all just about being present. It's all about going within the heart center. The Heart Math Institute in America talks about this. That's the science now. At the heart space, when we have coherence with others, with the heart, we heal the planet, because we communicate through energy. Right, but when we're in our heads and ego, that crosses over our heart energy, and we create a chaotic society. But I'm just going to leave it there. Thank you very much for watching this talk and listening. For latest updates and talks like this and all the latest news, I'm always researching things and revealing things. Please visit my website at www.lovelightfamily.com. Thank you for watching and listening to my talk. Thank you.